Yeah, Saturday night, great event, but a real salute to boxing. Boxing, thanks to ESPN, is now becoming once again the major sport that it was when I first started promoting, almost 55 years ago. Boxing is part of the DNA of this building, Christina. I remember when they opened this building, one of the first events was a heavyweight championship fight between the great Smoking Joe Frazier and Mathis, a big heavyweight. And Frazier won that fight. And the second fight on the card was a classic middleweight championship match between Nino Benvenuti of Italy and the great Emil Griffith, and Benvenuti won that fight. That started boxing in this building. Everybody remembers a lot of the old fights which took place in the old Madison Square Garden. But this building, this Madison Square Garden, all the great fighters fight here because it is symbolic of the sport of boxing. And the card that we have on Saturday night is a stellar one. Let me talk about the fights, some of the fights that will be on the card, which will be televised on ESPN2 leading up to the pay-per-view. We have on the card a sensational young man who is part of the Crawford Bomac stable in Omaha, Nebraska. Bomac is really high on the kid. Lawrence Newton will be performing first time, obviously, in New York. There's another young man on the card. He comes from India, pretty close to where Amir Khan, who's from Pakistan, family comes from. And Vikas Krishan was a terrific amateur. He has one win and no losses. He is part of the Shakur Stevenson camp, and he's a kid well worth watching. You understand that when Disney bought the assets from Fox, one of the assets was Star Television, which is the equivalent for the Brits of Sky TV and BT in the UK. Star Television is going to start featuring boxing and a lot of people in India, so that's great for the sport. Another fight that I'm sort of familiar with, that should be a barn burner, Frank Galarza will fight Carlos Adames in a super welterweight match. Two real hard-charging bangers. This should be a terrific fight. And as we go on today, we'll get into the pay-per-view undercard, and Christina will tell me when and if I can talk about it.
Yes, and as Bob mentioned, also the fighters on the undercard, obviously not up here on the dais today, but the other three pay-per-view fighters will be available for media after today's press conference, and also tomorrow we have roundtables set up for all the media with those fighters. You can get your one-on-one interviews with them tomorrow at the hotel as well. We'll keep it now to our main event. Before we get started talking with Virgil, I'd like to introduce Frank Smith, CEO of Matchroom Boxing, and Frank, not only did we put together a great card, we have two of the greatest fighters and gentlemen in boxing up here on the stage. And with your fighter, Amir Khan, you know, it's no secret that he could have went another direction and took another fight. But what does it say about your fighter to want to take on the pound-for-pound king in boxing, Terence Crawford?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Firstly, it's great to be here at Madison Square Gardens, and a pleasure to be working with Bob Arum, Top Rank, 2 in 2 weeks. Hopefully this week it'll be 1 all. Unfortunately, Corral didn't get the decision last week, but you know, Amir's going to go in there and do the business. I think, as you say, Amir had other opportunities that he could have gone down. most notably probably the Kell Brook fight. But this is the fight that Amir wanted. You have to respect that. You have to respect a man who's done what he's done in the sport. And I believe on Saturday night he's going to go in there, he's going to do a job, and he's going to become a world champion once again.
We're looking for a great performance, and I know we have a lot of people from the UK coming over and people that will be watching, so we're very looking forward to that. Thank you so much. And Virgil, if I can bring you in now, the man to your right in Amir Khan, what does it mean for you to be back working with him and in his corner for this very important fight against Terence Crawford?
It's been a pleasure having Amir back. He came at the right time and a good time for a fight such as this magnitude to go up against a great fighter like Terence Crawford. Coaches, we live for these opportunities. Whether we win, whether we come up short, we drive in these settings, and we live for these opportunities. So it's a great opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be involved in this event.
Yeah, and for Frank, I mean, having Virgil back with Amir, it's kind of like the best case scenario for this big fight. We know that they've done some historic things together. It couldn't be more ideal for you and your team to have these two back together, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think they had a couple of fights off. You know, Amir's last two fights, which we promoted with him in the UK. And I think Amir, when he's in with the best fighters, that's when he looks the best. I think the test of Terence Crawford taking on pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world, one of the most respected fighters in the world, will bring him on. You know, he's, as I say, come back from those two fights, and I think at welterweight, this is the strongest weight for him, and great having Virgil back in his corner. He had a great time with Joe Dazn, but I think being back with Virgil, who he's been with for a long time, is very important too.
And Virgil, something that, you know, in going through my notes, I kept seeing the word focus come up everywhere in your interviews. So I know that was a point of emphasis with Amir. So what are some of the things that he needs to make sure he focuses on come Saturday night?
Well, he most definitely can't have a mental lapse. He has to be focused every second of every round and be able to read the adjustments that a great fighter like Crawford will make. He's a fighter making adjustments. We have to be able to read those adjustments and adjust accordingly, stay competitive, and try to win this fight.
If we could get now to Amir. Amir, it's good to see you again today. I know you've done this many a time, but this fight right here is your 10th world title fight. Where does this fight against Terence Crawford, if you can briefly look back in your long boxing history, kind of rank on that list of title fights?
Yeah, this definitely ranks probably at the top for me, because fighting a world champion, Terence is very high in the pound-for-pound rankings, maybe number 1 or number 2, so it's just amazing for me to be in this position once again. That itself is a great motivation for me to know that I'm fighting the best out there once again, and it makes me train harder, work harder. I'm focused for this fight. I know that I can't make any mistakes in this fight, because I could be in trouble. You know, Terence, I'll be watching all the videos of his fights. I see that how he breaks down fighters, how he sees openings and stuff, and I can't be making those openings easily. Maybe my last performance got me this fight. To me, that wasn't the best performance, that wasn't the best Amir Khan. And I'm now back with my old trainer Virgil, where I'm happy, and he trained me the best, and he knows me better than any other trainer out there. So we know we've done everything we've had to do for this fight, and I'm going to be more than ready.
You talked about your last fight not being the best version of you. If you could look back, obviously you're undefeated at welterweight. What was the best version of you, and then what can we expect on Saturday?
I mean, I've had some good fights in the welterweight division. You know, we fought Lalzo, we fought Alexander. I mean, you know, he's brought the best out of me. Even the Canal fight was going well till I got caught with the shot. So, I mean, you know, whereas this fight, I'm fighting someone who's my own weight, which helps. I mean, every fight with Virgil that we learn something from, win or lose, and he's got the best at me. And I needed to get with someone, back with somebody who could bring that respect back for the sport of boxing, and also make me work harder.
So you have the team together, the timing and the weight division right, you know, for everything to come together on Saturday night. And I know that you've rallied for big fights in the past against pound-for-pound greats that haven't necessarily come to fruition. But now is your chance, now your opportunity. How do you capitalize and become a champion on Saturday?
That's right, you know, this is a dream come true. And hopefully on Saturday, dream will come true. Where I get my opportunity to fight for another world title. and to be one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. This just drives me, makes me work harder, train harder, stay focused, because I know I've got someone in front of me who is up there at number one. We can't deny that, you know, he's a good fighter. So I know he's training hard because he doesn't want to lose that unbeaten record. And I don't want to lose this fight because I want to achieve everything I want in this sport of boxing.
Amir, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, the man to your right, I mean, here we go back-to-back weekends. We had Vasily Lomachenko last weekend and now Terence Crawford. People go back and forth about number one, number two, pound for pound. But at the end of the day, it's about the best fighters fighting on the biggest platform and getting the best opportunity. And we've done that with Terence Crawford. What do you think that the public and the fans are going to see from Crawford on this biggest stage of boxing on Saturday night?
I don't have to talk about what the public is going to see from Terence Crawford. Anybody who knows anything in boxing knows that Terence Crawford comes along very, very seldom in a generation. I look at him as the guy, the closest that I remember that I promoted was the great Sugar Ray Leonard. Terence reminds me of Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm not going to get into who would win if they fought each other, because that ain't going to happen. But Terence is really something special, and I'm so delighted that we've been able to arrange this fight with Terence against Amir Khan, who I think I've always been an admirer of Amir Khan. Tremendous fighter. I know Amir remembers the time I spent with him and his family when you were in Manny Pacquiao's training camp. So I know what he brings to this party, and I am really looking forward to performances by two great fighters, a generational talent in Terence Crawford, and one of the best fighters that I've ever seen in Amir Khan. I remember how brilliant he was in the amateurs and how he boxes to perfection. Great fight on Saturday night.
And the man getting the pound for pound king ready for this fight amongst your entire team is right here to my left, Brian Womack McIntyre. We're used to holding these mics and calling fights, but you've been quite busy in the past 8 weeks or so getting your fighter and your team ready for this. But a couple little cool things you did a little bit different in this camp. I heard through the grapevine that you had spent some time at an astronaut training center doing some different things. Is that correct?
Yeah, we took a little time during the week to go out to the Air Force Academy out there in Colorado Springs and work on some hand-eye coordination with Terence, because I think it's very important that he's aware where the rear Khan, because of Khan's speed and how fast he is and what he can do in the ring. So I felt like this elevate Terence's IQ more than what it really is, and so we can be ready.
You are not only a trainer and a manager and a commentator now, but you're a student of the game, always studying, always learning. When you look at Amir Khan's career and what he brings to the table, what are some of the things that you feel like were points of emphasis that you worked on with Terence specifically for Amir in this camp?
Well, I'll keep that quiet for right now because of the simple fact that until we step in the ring, Terence is sure it all. So come Saturday.
Lastly, you always kind of look across from you, not only at the opponent, but the trainer, and you have a legendary trainer here in Virgil Hunter that you're going to be across the ring from. What does that mean to you? You know, we talked about this before, just about not only going against the fighter, but the mental aspect of going against another top trainer in the game.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be across the ring from Virgil Hunter. And I will tell Virgil and everybody in the world, you know, I'll listen to him as, you know, he's with Andre Ward or any other fighters that he was with. You know, as I just say, a student of the game, you go back and try to listen to the trainers and see what they tell them in the corner, and try to see if the fighters can go out there and do it. And also listen to him while he was with Amir Khan and the fights that he had, and Amir performed very well. So, you know, I kept that in mind, and also kept in mind that I'm glad Amir went back in with Virgil Hunter because I don't want him to have no excuses when Terence start touching him.
Understood. Now, Terence, how you doing?
I'm good.
You two, I asked Amir, and you two are a fighter that fights for your legacy, and you have had some big names on your resume, but where does this fight, and more importantly, a win in this fight, what does that mean for your legacy, or is it just another fight to you?
I don't believe no fight that I fight is just another fight for me. I believe all the fights that I fight from here on out is for my legacy. That's why I want the biggest fights out there. Amir Khan name came up because he was the next best welterweight in the division. I could have easily took Collazo. Like he said, he could have took another fight with Kell Brook. I could have took Collazo, but that wasn't the job that I really wanted to take. So Amir Khan is a great fighter. I can't take nothing away from him. He's done a lot in the sport of boxing. He has a big name. He's undefeated at the welterweight division. So why not take another step up?
And it seems like no matter who you fight and who you beat, obviously being undefeated, everybody always has something to say after the fight about maybe they were overrated, or maybe they weren't as good as we thought that they were, or maybe people think Amir has no chance in this fight. Does that bother you that you don't really get the credit you deserve when the fights are all said and done, despite the hype before the fight?
Sometimes it bothers me, but that just shows how dominant I am. When you got undefeated gold medalists, you got undefeated world champions, that before the fight, a lot of writers and fans think that they want to steamroll me, or they too big for me, or this is going to be the toughest fight of my career. And after the fight, they say, oh, well, he wasn't that good. He was a stand-up fighter, or he was slow, or we knew you was going to do this. We just had to hype up the fight. So now they discredit me. But when you look at the fighters that I didn't fight, that I've done fought, like most of them never the same after they fought me.
You win the fight on Saturday. What do you want the story to be? What do you think that the headline should be?
I don't know, I don't write the stories.
You do actually.
I don't write the stories. I just want people to respect me for my talent and the skills that I have, and the willingness to go in there and fight any and everybody that's available.
And I know that Amir Khan is the task at hand, and when I speak to the fighters that are at the top of the game, every fight that they want is to be a meaningful fight, and this very much so is. There's another guy that really wants to unify a title with you, and I know that that's very important to you. Do you think that after this fight, if you win, you can kind of put that pressure on the man to your left and try to make that big fight happen?
Man, listen, I can put pressure, I can put a gun to their head, but that still ain't gonna make the fight happen. They gonna make the fight happen when they want it to happen. I didn't put pressure on them for years with the Pacquiao fight, and the Pacquiao fight never happened. So it's not my job to worry about that. I just have to keep fighting the fights that they put in front of me and feed my family.
And that's indeed what you fight for at the end of the day anyway.
It's facts.
All right. Bob, anything else you'd like to say as we wrap up here with the main event?
When we wrap up the main event, it's going to be a great fight. I mean, really, truly a great fight. As an old guy, which I admit I am, I've promoted a lot of great fights in the welterweight division, and they were so good that I remember them to this day. I remember Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran in a rainy outdoor arena, or stadium in Montreal. I remember when Tommy and Ray fought for the first time. Those were classic fights that people remember. What happened, how one fighter was up ahead and the other fighter came back. That's part of history in sports and it's the lore of boxing. I promise you that this fight, Saturday night, between the champion Terence Crawford and the challenger Amir will be one of those fights. And people, years from now, long after I'm gone, will remember this fight as a classic fight, and they'll relive it and tell it what happened to their children and grandchildren.
Well said, Bob. So with that being said, make sure you join us from Madison Square Garden this Saturday.
If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, Entitled, betting shows, the list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.